The nurse quietly used sugar cubes to jam the door in place. Then she repositioned a support stand so it would topple over at just the right angle to shatter the glass. Next, she moved the box filled with alcohol as far to the side as possible, then pulled a small cart right next to the alcohol, making the hallway much narrower. Any passerby who wasn't paying attention would bump right into the box, which was exactly what the nurse wanted. She then entered the examination room full of enemies. At that moment, a doctor was preparing to pour distilled water into a pressure cooker for sterilization. When the doctor opened the pressure cooker, steam fogged up his glasses, making it impossible for him to see clearly. The nurse immediately stepped forward, pretending to help him clean his lenses, but with her other hand, she secretly switched out the distilled water for anesthetic and handed it to the doctor. Since the doctor was nearsighted and couldn't see clearly, he poured the entire bottle of anesthetic into the pressure cooker full of needles. The nurse seized the opportunity to take the distilled water and headed back to the hallway she'd set up earlier. Making sure no one was around, she immediately knocked over the water bottle. The distilled water flowed along the hallway, slowly making its way toward the sugar cubes under the door. When the sugar cubes came into contact with the distilled water, they began to dissolve. The nurse used this water flow gap to create a makeshift timer. While the sugar cubes were dissolving, she quickly slipped into the electrical room, opened the electrical panel, and pulled down the main breaker switch. To ensure the hospital would lose power, she dripped large amounts of water onto every fuse. After the blackout, the enemies would definitely use oil lamps, so she immediately loosened the wick holders on the oil lamps. Before long, soldiers came to the electrical room to investigate the malfunction. Thinking it was just a tripped breaker, one of them casually pushed the main switch back up. He had no idea that all the fuses had been destroyed. The hospital was completely without power. By this time, the sugar cubes had completely dissolved. Without the sugar cubes' resistance, the door spun rapidly, striking the position stand. The falling stand shattered the glass and happened to hit the pressure cooker. The violent impact caused the pressure cooker to explode, sending needles flying in all directions, continuously striking the enemies. The enemies, in pain and growing numb from the anesthetic, stumbled around in a daze, all rushing toward the exit, unable to see clearly in the blackout. They knocked over the alcohol containers in the hallway. An officer dipped his finger in the liquid on the floor and sniffed it. Confirming it was alcohol, realizing the danger, he warned his soldiers not to discharge their weapons. Just then, the soldier who had been checking the electrical room came running back to report the situation, because he was nodding too vigorously. And since the wick holder had been tampered with, the officer tried to warn him, but it was too late. The oil lamp fell directly to the ground, instantly igniting the alcohol scattered across the hallway. The raging fire completely consumed all the enemies inside, while the nurse had already safely evacuated.